Hey now, it's Brace for Impact, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert, and I'm going solo on that ass, but it's still the same. We're talking TNA Wrestling. Final Resolution 2024, the official preview. If you guys are noticing that the Mike and JD show did not air this week, well, there's a good reason for that. Well, I wish I had a better reason, but there's an actual reason for that. So even though I'm retiring, I had to work late today, and I'm like, guys, I'm retiring. You all know this. Why keep me late? I'm not going to be productive. But no, we had to have a meeting. And I was like an hour late off of work. And if you guys are, I know you guys should know by now that I'm in Hawaii, right? And so that was going to be cutting it close to record time. And I had to get home and I had to cover down at the house with the baby. So that way my wife can get some stuff done. And she hadn't started dinner yet. And so I was going to end up cooking dinner, but then we just ended up doing a swap where she took care of I took care of all the dishes and stuff like that. Then she came in and she did the dinner. And we just got like a really late start. And if we were to record, it had been super late for JD at that point. So I just texted JD. Is like, look, let's just push to Sunday, and he was like thankful because he has a final in the morning. So so we pushed to Sunday. So we'll be back. We'll be live on Sunday, a couple days late. I don't like. I'm very much a fan of routine. I like structure. I like to go every Thursday. I don't like to go on a different day, so it actually bugs me. So here I am at 9:30 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time, and I'm like, you know what? I didn't get a chance to do this on the Mike and JD show because I was going to do a final resolution preview and kind of talk about the show with JD and let him know what was on the card, knowing damn well he wasn't going to watch it. But I didn't get the opportunity to do that. So I had actually originally, well, after we pushed the show, I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll just watch Impact tonight. And then after I get on watching Impact, then I'll do my Impact review with a final resolution preview. Well, the app, and I have been very complimentary of the app this year. And it has been a significant upgrade over Impact Plus. But the app for the second time in like a month decided to, whenever they upload the on-demand version for the West Coast, they lock it and they want us to pay extra. And it's just a glitch in the system, so they're not doing it on purpose. So I have not been able to watch it. I actually even found like an illegal stream of it, but I could only watch it on my phone. I couldn't stream it to the TV. Like they just wouldn't work. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to watch this thing on my phone because I have a big ass TV that I want to watch it on. So I don't know that I'm going to get to this week's episode, and it's the final episode of the year because TNA does as TNA does, and they are taking off the last 2 weeks of December. And so the episodes that they're taping this weekend, and I'll get to that, are actually not even going to air until January. So they're not going to air until next month. So the show Impact is dead for the rest of the year. There's no reason to watch. The company has a lot of momentum. They're selling a lot of tickets. They're doing very well, but they can't seem to get out of their own way by taking all this time off. It's not good. It's not good. You lose momentum when you do that. You need to have holiday shows and themed shows and all kinds of stuff, but instead they're just going to show reruns, like, best of type stuff to end the year. So it sucks because I don't know that I'm ever going to get to watch tonight's episode. I'll try to get up early and watch it before my family gets up. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to stay up late tomorrow night and finish the episode and then watch Final Resolution right after that. That's too much for one night. I am not doing that. That's a lot of wrestling for me. I have other interests. I like to do other things. So it sucks. I feel bad. I want to review last night's or tonight's episode, but they are just so incompetent. They were not able to get it to work for the West Coast feed people. And I guess technically I'm still like Pacific, like on the Pacific Ocean because I'm in Hawaii, but that was really disappointing. I was looking forward to tonight's episode. I heard it was pretty good, but maybe I'll never know. I don't know. Maybe I will. Who knows? But let's go ahead and take a look at Final Resolution. So since we last talked on Saturday, I told you guys that Final Resolution only had a couple tickets left. Like it was like less than 30. Well, I think shortly after I got off the air, I was probably like a couple hours later, and they had actually sold out Final Resolution. And I was worried that they wouldn't because, Game Changer ran center stage in Atlanta like the week before, and they did like 250 tickets out of like, 900. They did like 250, right? Which that's pretty shitty. And so I was worried that TNA wouldn't be able to. Oh, excuse me. Oh, excuse me. But man, I'm old. And then lo and behold, they book West Side Guns event, the Fourth Rope, for the night before Final Resolution on Thursday night. So that ran tonight in the same venue. I'm like, man, is TNA going to be able to sell tickets to the third and fourth events happening in that same venue within a 7-day period? And it turns out, yes, not only could they outsold everybody else. In fact, they pushed it to capacity both nights. So not only is Final Resolution sold out, the TV tapings the night after Final Resolution are sold out, which is a really good sign for TNA going into Genesis coming up next month, which the floor seats for Genesis, last I heard, were doing pretty well. I should have a count on Saturday morning whenever I do my Final Resolution recap. And I'm not saying it's going to be the final episode of the year because we're not producing any new content. I will probably end up doing a year in review type of episode and kind of tell you my we'll maybe do like a little bit of a voting thing about wrestler of the year, show of the year, that type of stuff. I don't want to go too into the weeds to that because that's exactly what TNA is doing. They're doing that. But as news breaks, I will very likely just hop on here and cover it. Obviously, Patreon will get first dibs on the video, and then it'll get if some will get released to YouTube, some won't. So make sure that you're a Patreon subscriber. But let's go ahead and get to this card here. TNA World Championship. Nick Nemeth versus AJ Francis, formerly known as Top Dollar. So AJ Francis. So I really get the feeling like they're just rewarding AJ for being a good soldier and for bringing them attention that they normally wouldn't be getting. And case in point, earlier this week, he was on TMZ's website with Mojo Rawley and I believe Nick Nemeth, and they were building up this match. And then he also had an interview on NFL.com that was shared all over social media, talking about his playing days and promoting TNA. He also even had a diss rap that's actually gotten some good play. I actually listened to it. Like I watched the video, and he's like not a bad rapper. He's not. Like he actually has some talent there. I don't know if he'll ever make a whole lot of money doing that, but he's not. He legit is not bad. Like he's a really proficient rapper. So kudos to him. I actually, and I wasn't going to watch it, but then BQ was like, no, it's actually really good. And BQ used to do some like freestyle rapping back in the day. And so when he said it was pretty good, I was like, okay, let me give this a shot. Cause normally I would rather walk on broken glass with my bare feet than listen to, AJ Francis rap. I just assumed he wasn't any good, and he's actually pretty good. So fuck me. Because I don't know what I'm talking about clearly. I shouldn't just assume that somebody's not good at something. I should probably just give them the benefit of the doubt. And if you think about it, like he's a really talented guy. He does a good job of getting himself attention, and obviously a very good athlete, former NFL player, very talented rapper. Now I have been proven wrong on that. I never said that he was bad, but I was like, I'm not going to listen to that. Like the chances are it's not any good, but I was completely wrong. It was actually pretty good. So, and when he wants to, when he's taking himself seriously, when he can actually go, he can actually have like some good matches here and there. Like he's never going to be your 5-star classic guy, but he doesn't need to be. He's fucking huge. He's a super heavyweight. He doesn't need to have 5-star matches. He needs to kick people's asses. And that's the thing that he doesn't really do that often, which is my big criticism of AJ, is that he likes to be too silly. He likes to be funny. And I unfortunately get the feeling that this main event is just going to be like pandering to the crowd, interference from not only Casey Navarro, but probably like JBL or somebody like that, or Ryan Nemeth and, others. So we're going to get the interference, and then we're just going to get a lot of comedy stuff, probably end up getting some kickouts, some hope spots. and Nick Nemeth comes away with the victory. That's what I'm like. I can just see the whole thing just playing out in my head. Now, if he came out and he was like, I'm fucking 6'8", 350 pounds, former NFL player. I don't need to be silly. I don't need to be funny. I can kick people's asses. I'm a former defensive tackle, right? If he came out like that and was like working like Big Van Vader, well, then now you got my interest up. But if he's just gonna come out and be silly, I don't care. And Nick Nemeth's last 2 title matches have not been very good. And the match with Eddie Edwards was legit, and then it just got overdone with the interference because, and it's not just a TNA problem. Every company is doing this, where their main events are just riddled with shenanigans around the ring and gaga and bullshit, and it's like you can have that, but it's overwhelming these days. Like there's just too much of it on every show, and I'm getting to be about sick of it. I just see that main event playing out like this, which is what happened in the Eddie Edwards match, which is what happened in the Joe Hendry match. It's just everything that's going on outside of the ring is the story, and not the story of 2 people fighting for a championship, which was supposed to be what it's about. You can have those side stories; those are important too. Don't get me wrong, but goddamn, like the turning point match with Eddie Edwards was so good. And then Alicia Edwards interferes. She gets kicked out. She comes back, interferes again. And then Brian Myers comes out in a turkey suit. And it's like, okay, now you're just jacking off. I can see stuff like that happening in this show. Just like, it's like, instead of let's have a competitive contest, let's just jack off in front of everybody. I hope I'm wrong, but I just see that coming. Knockouts Championship, Masha Slamovich versus the one Tasha Steelz, the former X Division champion. Tasha was a bit of an afterthought most of 2024. She just kind of got thrown into some certain spots because people have been getting hurt, and she's been like a sixth man, you would say, like coming off the bench, and she's done really well with everything that she's been given. I think she's earned herself a spot here. She hasn't won a lot of matches this year, but she did beat Jordan Grace, so there you go. So she gets the championship shot here. I'm clearly Masha's going to kick the shit out of her, and I hope it's not like unnecessarily competitive. Like, they want to show respect to Tasha Steelz, but I don't think there's any reason why Masha shouldn't just beat her little ass. Masha should be kind of a killer babyface, and she should really only be having super competitive matches with tippy top stars and people that are like larger than her. And Tasha Steelz is much smaller. Not a tippy top star, despite the fact that she was once the champion. She has not been that level in a long time. I think that Masha should just kick her ass. And I think we need to get back to normalizing kicking people's asses. Not everything needs to have a bunch of kickouts. Occasionally, on some of these matches, depending on the characters in the match, somebody can get their ass kicked. Which leads me to the next match. X Division Championship, Moose versus Kushida. I don't think the Moose should completely kill Kushida or squash him. And I don't think that about the Tasha Steelz, but I do think that should be like definitive, right? I feel the same way about this match. Like, this should be a pretty definitive victory for Moose. He shouldn't really struggle too much to beat Kushida, right? If you want me to buy into Moose's title reign, and I know what they're trying to do, they're trying to make it to where he's having good matches, and you're essentially just kind of like telling people that it's all bullshit, right? That doesn't mean he can't have a good match with Kushida, but they got to work it differently. They can't work it where like Kushida's hitting tons and tons of moves and on offense the whole time, and Moose is kind of retreating, and Moose is, legit 6'4", 280 pounds shredded muscle, right? Kushida's like 5'7" and 165 pounds. So they got to work it differently. That doesn't mean that Kushida can't get some offense in, and I think he should go try to hit his armbar and things like that. But again, this shouldn't go more than 10 minutes, and the Moose should, by the end, it should be pretty definitive. The Moose didn't have a whole lot of trouble with Kushida, despite the fact that Kushida got a couple of moments there where it looked like he might be able to win, right? It should be another definitive victory for Moose. And then we go to the TNA World Tag Team Championship. The Hardy Boys versus The System in a tables match. So they're really dragging this feud with the system out, and I think it has everything to do with the Chris Bay injury. I think they might have been going in a different direction and going Hardys versus ABC here. But then unfortunately Chris Bay got injured, so they were going Hardys versus System again. And the Hardys are 3-0 right now, I believe. I think they're 3-0 on the system, so there's really no reason for this match to happen. But it's happening because there's no other tag team, so they gotta, there's 3 tag teams on the undercard, but none of the 3 are ready at this point. So they're just going to run back the system. So I think this probably will be like a fun, I think the crowd will be really into this match because it's a tables match. I think it'll obviously get over with the crowd. It's the Hardy Boys in a tables match. And I think the Hardy Boys will probably win. I don't see any reason why the system would win. And I hope that's just the end of it. It's weird that they've already done the Full Metal Mayhem with the tables, ladders, and chairs, and now they're doing a tables match. It's like we're running out of ideas. They should have done like a dog collar, like double dog collar, like a tribute to the Briscoes versus FTR. They should have done something like that, as opposed to another tables match. It's like, guys, we just kind of did that at Bound for Glory. And I get the feeling like ladders will be involved and chairs will be involved. So it's like you just did another Full Metal Mayhem match, but without the ladder match aspect of it. So I think that, Hardy Boys clear victory here. Will probably end up being a pretty good match because these two teams work well together. I think the system, they're actually like perfect opponents for the Hardy Boys, like the modern day Hardy Boys. So it's good stuff there. And then what should probably be the match of the night? And honestly, if I were booking, I would make this the main event. Joe Hendry versus Josh Alexander versus Mike Santana versus Steve Maclin for the world title shot at the Genesis pay-per-view. And I'm going to say something controversial. And I know that everybody thinks that it's going to be Joe Hendry getting the title shot again. But they already did the match, and it wasn't very good. And the numbers were down. Not only pay-per-view numbers, but the attendance were actually down from Slammiversary. And I don't know that they're ever going to do the Joe Hendry thing. Or if they do, they're just going to keep dragging it on, and eventually it's going to just flame out. I think they go Steve Maclin here. I do. Originally I was going to pick Mike Santana, but I did see some clips online. It looks like Mike Santana and Josh Alexander looks like they might actually end up having a feud. I would have done Steve Maclin and Josh Alexander at Genesis in like a steel cage match. And I would have blown off the feud there. But it looks like they've already killed that feud, and they're going to go to Mike Santana versus Josh. So I think Steve Maclin gets the victory here, probably pinning Joe Hendry. And there might be shenanigans, maybe like Layfield gets involved or something like that. But I don't think they're ever paying that Layfield thing off. In fact, I think Layfield's not even going to be at Genesis. I think Layfield's going to be at the Hammerstein Ballroom for GCW that night. So I do get the feeling that he's going to get involved in this show. But I don't think he's actually going to be at Genesis, despite the fact that it's in Texas and the TNA is the bigger, hotter company. I think he's going to be at the Hammerstein Ballroom because Brett Lauderdale is able to secure people faster than TNA. He's just more on the ball with that stuff. So that's just my guess. But I think and look, this isn't just Mike like picking Steve Maclin just for the sake of picking him because I like Steve. I like Joe Hendry too. I would have put the title on Joe Hendry at Bound for Glory, but I just think they missed their moment. I think they missed their mark. And that doesn't mean that Joe Hendry's not still over. He is. But I just don't see them doing it. I don't have any faith in them that they're ever going to pay that off. Or if they do, by the time they pay it off, the ship would have sailed. Like they might wait until Los Angeles, right? So with Mike Santana, I think Mike Santana gets a title shot at the UBS Arena in New York. I think they saved that. So Joe Hendry waits until Rebellion in April, and maybe they crown him then. But I don't like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he just never wins the title. I could see Steve Maclin getting the shot at Nick Nemeth at Genesis. Maclin does have ties to Dallas. Last time they were in Dallas, Maclin actually had some military guys there with him in the crowd. He was super over there. I think he was stationed in Texas for a while. So I could see Maclin getting the title shot at Genesis. And then Jobin Grace versus Rosemary. Jobin Grace on her Jobin tour. She's going to lose to Rosemary here on Final Resolution on her way out of the company. And they're just going to keep digging up more knockouts for her to lose to. She'll definitely lose at Genesis in Texas, and then lose in San Antonio, and then show up in the Royal Rumble and be a bigger star than she's ever been in her entire life. So there's no real reason to watch this match. I think they're setting up Rosemary versus Masha Slamovich for Genesis, which I don't know how that's going to do. I thought that Lei Ying Lee was just signed and that she was going to be around, but she's not advertised for this card, so maybe she'll be at the TV tapings. But I think the eventual match is Masha versus Lei Ying Lee, and I think they're just going to drag that out. But once Jordynne Grace goes, this division is not very stacked. I know Kylan King's coming back, and that's going to be helpful, and they're trying to sign some unnamed talent. I'd like to see them bring in High End. I think she's really good. But once Jordynne Grace goes, man, that's going to be like a significant drop off talent level wise, specifically in the ring talent. And next we got a match. I don't know why they're having, but Ace Austin versus Trent Seven. I know Trent Seven like annoyed him backstage at one point. And they were like wrestling, but Ace Austin versus Trent Seven. This match would be perfect for the digital media title or the international title. But PCO is holding them hostage. Now he's in a tag team. I don't know what they're doing with those titles, but I was looking at this booking and I was just like, this match specifically could be for the digital media title, right? And then you go down to the pre-show, you got Frankie Kazarian and Jonathan Gresham. That could be for the international heavyweight title. That would make those matches seem interesting and more important, but instead they're just toss away matches. There's just no reason to have them. It's like, what are we doing? Like, what is the goal of the matches other than just to get people on TV? That's all this is. Like, they're just trying to get people on TV. There's just no end goal. It doesn't lead to anything. There's no payoff, which is why I think those two titles could be effective, right? And this match, Ace Austin versus Trent Seven, should be for the international heavyweight title, but they're too incompetent to book secondary titles. They don't know what they're doing. I think Trent Seven just turned heel. You would think you'd win, but I think they're going to go with Ace Austin on this one because it's like the match means nothing. It's just two guys exchanging holds. There's no reason to do it. And then you got Salami Callahan and PCO versus Hammerstone and Jake Something versus the Rascals. Now, Salami and PCO were actually on Saturday wrestling the Hardy Boys, so they telegraphed the victory here. I think Sammy and PCO beat Hammerstone and Jake. I don't think they're ever going to get behind Hammerstone and Jake, despite the fact how impressive they are. I don't think they're going to want to beat the Rascals. So I think Sammy and PCO are going to pin either Jake or Hammer. And that depresses me. And then at one point, we're going to see the 23, and we all know the 23 is Sammy. Sammy is 23, 23 is Sammy. That's it. I don't know why they're having the match. There's no stipulation involved. It's just the match for the sake of a match. So there you go. And then Frankie versus Jonathan Gresham. I mean, Jonathan's on his way out, and Frankie's got the briefcase. I think Frankie wins that one there. It's on the pre-show, so it's probably going to be 7 minutes, and should be a good fun little match, but Frankie wins. And last but not least, Leon Slater versus Johnny Dango Curtis. If Leon Slater loses, I think I'm canceling my subscription to TNA Plus. I already might cancel it because they fucked me on this episode because I was going to review the episode. I planned on reviewing it, and they ruined it for me and they ruined it for the audience. So I was not able to review the episode this week. The last episode of 2024, not uploaded to TNA Plus, so I was not able to review it. These asshole faces, these fucking assholes, ruined it again. But I think Leon Slater should win. But as far as the card goes, they have talented wrestlers on the card and they put together some good matches. But outside of a handful of matches, most of them just not important. There's no real, only one match leads to Genesis, and that's that 4-way, and that's probably the most interesting match because everything else is pretty telegraphed who's going to win, right? But I really like. I think there's 3 guys who could win that fatal 4-way. Josh Alexander can't win because he's leaving. But the other three guys, I think, could like actually be winners of the match. And like, if you were to say like, no, I think Santana's winning because this, I would probably like, yeah, no, that's a good point. Same with Joe Hendry. I'm just picking Macklin. I think Macklin's got a little bit of momentum right now, and I just think they like him, and I don't think that they have a ton of respect for what Joe Hendry can do. So I think that they're just not going to pull the trigger on Joe Hendry, and I think they're going to save everything to the UBS Arena for Santana. I think that's what they're going to do. Will it work? I don't know. Every time I pick against these guys to be successful, I'm wrong. So what they're doing is working. Even if I don't like it, what they're doing is working. And that's really all that matters at the end of the day. But I will still give you my subjective opinions on things, despite the fact that their business seems to be up. Because I think that if you only analyze the business and you don't give subjective opinions of what you like and dislike, I think you just become boring at that point. And nobody wants to listen to that. So, but hey, I knocked out 26 minutes, man, on a Final Resolution. I don't know if any of you fucks are going to watch this show, but I'm going to watch it. If TNA Plus works, we'll see. No guarantees there. But all right, guys, I'll be back on Saturday with some more TNA talk. And until next time, mahalo.